You know, some nights you just got to tip your cap. You got to just take the fact that you got a belt taken to your ass and you just move on
Yep.
along. Possibly the worst performance of the Barnes era tonight. Tennessee gets beat 73-43 by Florida. And hats off to Florida. I'll say this as well, though. If you would have told me coming in this game that we would have held Florida to 73 points,
I'd have felt pretty good.
I'd have felt pretty good about that. I didn't imagine, though, that we'd be sitting at 43 on that. So, I mean, hats off to them. I don't think they just killed it from the field by any means, but, they obviously did something defensively to cause some issues tonight. We said it Saturday. We said it. There's going to be one of these performances.
Yeah.
Where Tennessee, I didn't foresee it coming this soon, but, there it is. So what's your opening thoughts on tonight? Do you want to overreact? Do you just want to call spade a spade, or how do you want to go?
There's absolutely nothing to overreact to. You can come out and say, well, Tennessee didn't show up. They didn't look like they had any playing with any heart. They just lousy their hind around all night. And you can say what you want, but that's college basketball. That's how this sport works, unfortunately. We saw Tennessee teams throughout the years have these kind of performances. It happened last year. You go down to Texas A&M and you got ragdolled by them. You only lost that game by 16 points, but I think they beat us in rebounding by like 20. They just completely dominated us. That's just how it goes sometimes. It's just how you bounce back. Last year, you lose to Texas A&M. You win 7 straight SEC games right after that. Then you lose to Kentucky at home, last regular season game of the season, and then you lose against Mississippi State, and then you make a run. So this game can put you forward. It can put you in a right step, and you can grow from this. You do get to play this Florida team again. This is the second SEC game. This is a lot of guys. This is the first time they've ever played a road SEC game. Yep. I understand that the Illinois game was a good environment, but Illinois at that point, they didn't really know what they were. And just like everybody else right now, the students aren't on campus, so it's not that raucous of an environment. At least Florida was able to have some students back on campus tonight, so they did have a good crowd, but it didn't really matter whenever you come out and you don't score a point for the first 7 minutes. So you can easily overreact, but I'll say there's no point to overreact just because Rick Barnes has done it in the past. Rick Barnes has lost games like this where he's got his butt whooped, and the team's been extremely better in just the next game. So it's how you respond. You go to Texas on Saturday. That tells the whole story, in my opinion. If you can go to Texas, get a win there, which is we'll kind of see how that's going to look like tonight since they are playing Auburn. If Auburn gets a win there tonight, then Tennessee has to match that, in my opinion. At this point, it's kind of like SEC games. You got to win some on the road if you're a team like Tennessee. I don't know how you win some games on the road because, it appears Kentucky's going to lose to Georgia right now. They're down 11. So it just appears that winning on the road is not going to happen in the SEC, no matter how good or how bad you are. So an SEC team can win the national championship this season, and they could have lost 5 or 6 SEC games because that's just how it's going to be this year because the SEC is by far the best conference in America right now.
It's going to be dog eat dog. It's going to be knockdown, drag out in the conference. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And there's going to be, like you said, those nights where you get beat like this. There's going to be those nights where you got to sneak those out on the road. The good thing I like about going into Saturday at Texas is I don't think Rick Barnes really needs a lot of extra motivation to go into Texas fired up to win, but now he has it. So let's hit some comments here. I agree with everything you said. I think you hit it spot on that, especially in this conference, man. We talked about it Saturday going in. The records of the games we were looking at, every team in the conference is in double-digit wins.
Yep.
They're over 500 by a long shot. They're probably
what was it?
about all over 75%.
Nobody had more than 3 losses, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly. So that's
Yeah.
just absurd for a 16-team league. That's crazy.
Yeah. We've never seen that in the SEC that I can remember. Anyway, can we start any uglier than I can't imagine we
And
can.
you
I
can't.
mean, like you said, we
You can
went
try.
almost 7 minutes, and then it was 2 Felix Okpara free throws out of all things that put us on the board. We got a little bit of momentum going with some Felix Okpara stuff going on. Out of the woods said the refs are terrible. We got to hit some shot. Now, I did think
Nah,
Chazanier got mugged
yeah,
on
I
one down
wouldn't.
the lane, and
When you
nothing was
get whooped
called.
like that, refs don't matter,
Yeah,
unfortunately. When you shoot 1 for 23 at 3-point range at one point, and you're just there's nothing to complain about except looking into the mirror,
yeah.
and there's the answer to all your problems.
Papa J said I might have to revert to drinking shots just watching this game. I get it, man. Um, yep. Wow. Oh, wow. Pretty much. Eric Smith said not going to overreact. We had a terrible shoot night and the refs are trash. Lucky for me, I have tickets to the Florida game in Knoxville next month. This just made that game fire bedtime. Yeah, that's the way you got to look at it. I mean, like you said, road games in the SEC. The Illinois game was one thing, and we didn't play good in that game.
No, we didn't.
But they overcame it or overcome it. Tonight, could not overcome it. And, when it's all said and done, is Florida better than Illinois? I don't know. But I know tonight Florida was a whole lot better than Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what it boiled down to in a lot of aspects of the game, too. We talked about not overreacting. I mean, Tennessee basketball sucks so bad. Yeah, that's case in point. They did tonight, but, to be ranked number one normally does not happen by accident.
Yeah.
Just a bad shooting night. And I don't know, you can always question effort on these nights, but sometimes, I mean, sometimes you just got to chalk it up till you get your ass whipped.
Yeah. I think, you're 15 minutes into the game and it's kind of like, well, this one's over.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you kind of saw it on the players. It was like, we've tried, like, we've thrown up 3 after 3 after 3, and not a single one of them's went in. You've had some easy shots that just bounce around the rim and bounce out. So it's just one of those games where you kind of learn as a player. It's like, this one's just, it's not, you're not. And Florida, it wasn't necessarily Florida's not either, but they just got a few more bounces. They out physicaled us, got more rebounds. I don't know. It just ugly on their end and beyond good enough on their end. So it's just one of those games, I guess.
Let's look at some stats here. Let me hit a few more comments here. I think a big thing, I think this is a big, we got dominated on the glass tonight.
Yeah. Which will happen.
That does not happen often, but it most certainly did tonight. Sandras, I totally agree with your comment at 8:48. It sucked, but hey, here's the thing. I think people mistake Barnes. Barnes doesn't show a lot of emotion either way.
No,
and people think he's just sitting there just like not upset about it. If they're bombing threes left and right, you may occasionally see that little grin, that little corner grin out of the mouth. That's the most emotion you see from him.
Yeah.
But Barnes is pretty even kill. And I think that's what makes him such a good coach is, in the good times, he's even kill. In the bad times, you take it in. And I don't think it's so much he doesn't do anything about it. I think he observes. And I think they go back and work on his whole staff is like that. None of them really overreact in any moment. And I think that's a good trait to have because you kind of take it in. Whether it's good or it's bad, you take it in and, well, what can we work on moving forward? It was a tough one to watch.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I mean, you and I talked about, we kind of tuned out a little bit in the second half. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sitting over eating ice cream and not really worrying about it, but
Yeah.
and it's
It is
just
what it
like,
is. I mean, the only time he really gets animated is if he gets mad, it's at an official over a call. That's like the only time you really see him show true emotion.
yeah,
Um, Being at the games, you do see him show a little bit more emotion, but most of the times it's still at an official or it's something on the defensive end. It's not typically Tennessee does something on the offensive end and him show emotion. Matter of fact, I can't think of an instance where I've seen him get fired up after we do something on the offensive end. So it's just
yeah,
kind of how Rick Barnes is. And then the other coaches, they just kind of the same way. I think the only other coaches you see really being animated, they're just coaching their guys. You see them
yeah.
standing up and they're pointing guys in directions. So this isn't a coaching staff that gets too high or gets too low, in my opinion, which is a good thing. I mean, you saw how the Florida bench acted tonight. So
Oh my gosh, they kept showing that freaking curly headed guy over there. I was like so sick of seeing him
the
doing
elf,
nothing at that point. It's like, come on, quit showing these guys. And I don't have a problem with them being fired up and upset. The cameras, though, put the freaking cameras on. I don't need to see them over there. But if our guys have been doing, I'd have loved it though. So it's
yeah,
like, it's
it goes
we
both
can
ways.
play devil's advocate all day long. It's all about which team is actually doing it at that point. Yeah, I think JL called it. I mean, we couldn't buy a bucket, couldn't get much going our way. And I mean, Florida, I had some discrepancy on it, but let's face it, when it boils down to it, I'm not going to use referees as an excuse tonight. I mean, let's before I get into any more comments, let's share the screen. Let's do what I like to do, and let's look at some stats here just to paint a picture of this thing. Here we go. So, gosh, woo! If horror films is not your thing, you might want to turn an eye at this one. So, Tennessee on that 12 out of 56, 21%. 4 out of 29 from 3-point range. And I really had no idea we hit 4 3-pointers along the way. Chaz hit 1 out of 9. Zakai hit 1 out of 6. Igor 1 of 5. Gainey 1 out of 3. A brutal night from 3-point range. I mean, we got to the free throw line 25 times and we shot 60%. That I'm not good with that. And I know you're going to have nights with field goal and 3-point percentage, not good. All right. And not that I'm happy with those. But I'll be honest, if I look at those 3 percentages, 21%, 14%, 60%, and you would think I should be happiest about 60%. Honestly, I'm the most pissed off about 60% because we're playing college basketball in the SEC and we're at 15 out of 25. To me, that's unacceptable. Obviously, it had no bearing on the game tonight, but I'm going to nitpick that one a little bit. Turnovers, I mean, 12-11, nothing substantial. Here's your big one. Rebounds, 55-38. Florida dominated this team tonight. Points in the paint, 40-14. Fast break points, 22-3. Don't even care about blocks, steals. 6 freaking assists on night. 14 for Florida. Florida dominated this team in every facet of the game. And again, I look at Florida's numbers. There's 40% field goals, 30% 3-point, 76% free throws. They score 73%. Said it right out of the gate on this. If you would have told me tonight that was Florida's numbers, I would have said we were coming to this post-game show pretty happy people tonight. So defense to me was not the problem. Rebounding, yes. The rest of it, though, those percentages I don't think they're that bad as far as what they allowed Florida to do. Now, if you look at Tennessee's percentages, though, you come right out of the gate. I thought Chaz Lanier had a great look out of the gate. I'm like, here we go. Here we're starting it. Missed it, and that was just.
He took the first 3 shot attempts.
Yep. 0 for 3 right out of the gate. And then, he's had a great year. It was going to happen at some point. I mean, he still got tonight. He still had, 10 points. Zakai had 10 points. Milicic 8. Parr 8. Gainey 7. That's it. You had 5 guys score tonight. Meshack, nothing. Boswell, Dubar, Phillips, nothing. Tonight. Phillips only played 3 minutes. They put him in. He got in foul trouble quick. Dubar, 10 minutes. Boswell played 11. Played a little bit more. Meshack, 25. I mean, I think Florida was daring Meshack to beat him at one point because he fired a couple in a row. And
gosh.
so, there's nights Meshack will hit those, but nobody was hitting tonight. So
No.
If you're Tennessee, you're Barnes, where do you go on this one? What do you work on the most? Because, I mean, there's nights, if you're just missing shots, you're missing shots. There's going to be other nights where you're on fire. So where do you really zero in at if you're Barnes on this?
I think it has to be what Rick Barnes loves, and that's rebounding. I mean, you're going to lose SEC games because of rebounding, and you're going to win SEC games because of rebounding. And this is a matchup coming this Saturday that's going to be probably just like the one we just witnessed last year in the NCAA tournament of a dogfight, and you have to win the rebounding battle. And Tennessee is typically in a great position to win games whenever they win the rebounding battle. So I think if you can just focus on rebounding, try to get some physicality back, work on some fundamentals and get in the right spots, grab some rebounds, and you're in a good spot, because I feel like that's one of the things that you have to work on throughout the season in order to stay consistent. I think if you want to get better, you got to do the things that you can continue to get better at. And you can always get better at rebounding. You can't always get better at shooting because sometimes you have a historic night, and that's just how basketball goes. But
not in a good way either.
Yeah, you can control rebounding as much as you want to in reality, because that's something you can teach. You can have a guy that's just not good enough to play in the SEC, but he can play minutes because he's an excellent rebounder, and we've seen guys do that all across the league. So, in my opinion, if there's one thing you have to harp on, one thing you have to get right going into this matchup Saturday against Texas, it's got to be rebounding and physicality. Essentially, try to repeat the same exact thing you just did to Arkansas, and do it again on the road at Rick Barnes' home, essentially in Austin, Texas.
Yeah. I mean, we've had these nights. I mean, you look back to, I always go back to Madison Square Garden, Florida Atlantic 2 years ago.
Yep.
Horrific night.
Yep.
The path was paved to the Final Four. We couldn't hit, water falling out of a boat on that night. Florida Atlantic took advantage of it and won. I mean, is there any reason to panic tonight? Anything that's causing you to panic?
I mean, I think it's, if you see this performance again in some sort of way, because you won't see it this bad again, at least I pray not.
Yeah.
If you see it again, then you have reason to be concerned. But at the same time, you can have bad shooting performances. You've seen Rick Barnes teams have dozens of bad shooting performances, and they still win the game decently comfortable. Saw Tennessee do it last year against Texas in the NCAA tournament. They didn't shoot good. They just out-physicaled the team, and they won just because that's how they play basketball. They don't have to rely as much on shooting. So it's just one of those things. We'll learn. I'm not going to panic over the second SEC road game or second SEC game of the season, just because it's too early. But if it does happen again, then there is every reason to panic and overreact.
What was Florida's rank?
8.
Yeah. If they were unranked, I'd probably. I mean, I'm not happy about the loss. Don't get me wrong about it.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to excuse anything tonight, but I mean, you have those nights. Well, said it earlier. We said it Saturday. It's going to happen.
It is.
It's not every loss is just going to be by a point or two. There's going to be that loss where it's bad. And
Kentucky's about to lose to an unranked Georgia team. They're losing by 13 right now. So, I mean, it's just, you're going to lose by double digits on the road.
It's over.
Well, mine hasn't. Mine still says 15 seconds, but still, It's just, you're going to lose on the road It just sucks that you lost by 30, which is disappointing, and you were never even close to competing in the basketball game. But you can't draw assumptions just based off the score. The score of this game will not matter in 2 months. The only thing that matters is the win or the loss. And tonight you lost. It's just how you get better from it.
I mean, we'll see how much this team's learned when Florida comes back to Knoxville.
Yeah.
I mean, you either make corrections and do it. I mean, Florida comes in, drills you again. And sometimes you chalk it up to maybe this team has our number. And, we'll see when Florida comes back to Knoxville. I agree with Ed as for UT. When this team's lose, they lose. They don't do it.
Yeah.
They don't half-heartedly do it. They do it.
Josh Heupel road performance.
Well, I was about to text you. I got distracted, but I think Josh Heupel's coaching tonight based on this performance. But, I think they'll learn from this, get better. Because, I mean, to me, what it boiled down to, I think you hit on the one thing that concerned me, the rebounding. The shooting, it was horrific tonight, but there was a lot of good looks. And, I mean, it's like I go back to the Lady Vols game Sunday. I'm in the minority on it's the last shot. She was wide open. When you miss those, you miss them sometimes. I don't know if that was my ideal play, but still yet. It's like you get an open shot, you get an open shot. When you miss those, I mean, that's just flat out missing a shot. Let me see if I can get caught up on some of the comments. I bet we got some trolls. Oh, yeah, I see one here. Let's see here. I don't really see good comments to highlight, guys. No offense, but let me see. I'm trying to hit some good stuff here. I don't think we're a one-person team. I see.
No.
I'm gonna hit a few of them. There's no panic.
Last season we were a one-person team.
Last season we were a one-person team. I think this year you look at it, you got Ziegler can do some things. I mean, Lanier's your scorer. There's no doubt. But I mean, you look what Milicic did Saturday. Gainey can score this year. Gainey's much better than he was
Gainey's win you a game. He's already proven that.
Yeah. I mean, if it hadn't been for Gainey, this team has 2 losses.
Yep.
We do not win that Illinois game if not for Justin Gainey or Jordan Gainey. I mean, I thought the numbers I'll look at for Florida, I don't have a problem with the defense tonight. I just don't. I mean, this won't be the last one. I would imagine this will be the worst shooting performance of the year.
Yeah.
It won't be the last loss. Not in this conference.
No.
Not
Still
in this
probably
conference.
lose 2 more.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go to Auburn. I mean, Auburn is up 25-17 right now in Texas. You've got to go you got to go to Kentucky. That's always going to be tough. I mean, that's just to mention a couple. I don't imagine Texas on Saturday will be an easy game.
No.
By any means. But let's see. Yeah, I mean, like you said, and Kyle mentioned, Kentucky just got beat by 13 points tonight. So, I mean, anytime you go on the road in this conference, you better be ready to bring it because we said it earlier, not a single team in the conference coming into conference play had more than 3 losses.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know what all their non-conference looks like. I don't have the time to go look at every non-conference schedule. But there's not a time I can remember the SEC as a whole coming in that good as well. And, right now, every single team in the conference has a case to make the NCAA tournament. That's with not making, without conference play starting. And I think it's, a couple good comments here as well. The league's a buzzsaw. It is an absolute buzzsaw this year. It's going to be one of those where they're going to eat their own. There's no doubt about it. And that's what Papa J said, eating its own. Dang, CJ Black a few years back. Good Lord, that's been back in the 90s, Bob. We're both showing some age on that one. I remember watching CJ Black play at the Arby's Classic for, I think it was Chattanooga Brainerd. So that's been a long, long time ago. But yeah, CJ Black was a good one. Yeah, there was that O'Neal or Green? I remember that score. I can't remember if it was O'Neal or Green that was the coach when they did that. Yeah, Barnes will be. I imagine he's pretty even killing press conferences, but I bet practice is not going to be fun.
No, he's
this
different
week.
in practice.
I bet practice is not going to be fun
for nobody.
I don't know, dude. You've watched a different team than I have, because I was expecting for a good point in time we were going to come back, and then it kind of got to that point that I'm like, yeah, it's not happening tonight. I think we absolutely. I mean, coming into the game, we had a top 20 Ken Palm offense. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. See if I can hit some more. Like, who was your standout guy tonight? It's kind of like the smartest dumb kid tonight, but who was your
Akpara? He's the only person I think that played good in Orange tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he did good. It seemed like he was active because they were able to. I mean, it was kind of a telltale sign of the hoop to him, and it got stuck in the rim.
That was pretty funny. I hadn't seen that one.
No, not like that one. But, I agree with this. And better lose to a top 10 team than to lose to an unranked. I mean, I know it was bad, but it's the number 8 team in the country. They were coming off of a loss.
They had to
and I don't necessarily think Florida's defense was great. I just thought I thought it was good, but I just think our offense was that horrible. I mean, I just the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, field goals, 3-pointers, and then you hit 60% free throws. That's, to me, unacceptable. I have a problem with free throws on it at any level in the SEC, whether it's men's or women's. Like, Sunday, the ladies shot 2 out of 7 free throws. Come on. You're playing supposedly the best basketball in college. You ought to be able to hit a damn free throw. Just my opinion on it. That's a guy who won't, but we'll see. Where sometimes you get these losses and they're a wake-up call. I mean, where would Ohio State be right now if they hadn't lost to Michigan at the end of the year?
Yeah.
I mean, look at that buzzsaw that's happened. Rooster says they'll be fine if they get hot in the tournament. They can make an Elite 8 or Final 4. Florida's also good, not the end of the world. Lost to Florida. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree on that one. That's basketball, especially in this conference. I'm just not going to react tonight. Overreact. I'm going to react. I'm not going to overreact or not. You think Barnes ever cusses?
No. Used to. I bet he used to would have, but not anymore. I bet
he used to. He seemed like a pretty faithful guy and stuff. He praises Jesus, God a lot and stuff. I don't know that he does. And he may be one of those that uses he gets right up to it. But I've known those people before. They'll be like, that blasting bleepity, son of a gun. And he might use all that. But I think Barnes gets his point across. And that's probably the thing with our society. I mean, I'm not above using words, or we don't really have to use them to get our point across. And I think Barnes probably gets his across just fine without having to use any words. Let's see. What, we had 11 shots from the floor? Is that what it was?
I think it was 12.
Oh, we hit 12. Come on, Chad. Give us credit now. Give us credit, Chad. We hit 12, not 11 on the night.
Two of them came within the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, especially on a night like tonight. Let's count them all, Chad. Come on. Giving you a hard time on that one. So, yeah. We've seen some of those nights over the Barnes era. The biggest one to me, and it stands out, was Florida Atlantic and Madison Square Garden 2 years ago, because I was like, the path is paved. I mean, I bet some of my baseball players poles on it, and I had to run freaking poles over that game. But yeah, so that still has pretty funny memory, but still yet it's like the first half stats and the let's see if there was a much difference in the first. I'm curious on this, actually. First half stats, we shot. The second half stats smoked. First, we were 0 out of 14 from 3-point range in the first half. The second half, we were a whopping 4 out of 15. So we upped that. I mean, if you want to look at increase in performance, what more do we want, guys? We went from 0% to 26.7%. So we increased our percentage by a whopping 26.7%. Now, granted, we started at the absolute rock bottom on that one. All you can do is kind of make fun of it tonight, to be honest. You can sit here and laugh about it. It sucks. But, this team was 14-0 coming in. I'm not shocked by any means they lost. I am really surprised in the way that it happened. I thought this was a well-rounded enough team to where we would not see one of these performances, but it most certainly happened, for sure. Based on what you've seen so far, I think we got some probably obvious guys step. Who do you need to see more from moving forward?
Meshack. That's, if I had to single out one guy, it would definitely have to be Meshack.
Offensively or overall?
Both. I mean, offensively and defensively. I've seen him get beat a few times. He got beat tonight on a play. He's not necessarily been as good as what we were expecting him to be. He's still an elite defender. I mean, he's still one of the best, if not the best in the nation, but he just hasn't been as well-rounded the past few weeks. And offensively, he's the guy you got to have score. He's got to put up something for us. He's got to help us in SEC play. You need to try to get around 10 points out of him. I don't know how you get that, but that's something you need. You had the opportunity tonight. He had a few 3-point shots, and he missed them, which is a lot of people get scared whenever he throws up threes, but he's a guy that can nail them. I'm pretty sure, I think Barnes said that he's actually one of the best 3-point shooters on the team, at least in practice. I don't know how that – I know that translates differently when it comes to games, but it's just – I need to see more out of him. And if he is hurt, I mean, that does play into it. I remember him getting hurt a few weeks ago, but hopefully he's able to turn things around soon and get back on track. Because, I mean, normally you would see him on the bench a lot more, but you can't put him on the bench just because you don't have any depth. You lost Carr, you lost Estrella, and tonight was the first game where the Estrella loss really did show up. I mean, you got out physicaled in a game where Estrella would have been a huge physical guy. And to me, tonight was definitely the first game this season where it's like him being out for the season is a huge loss. And I also would have liked to have Cam Carr in there tonight at times, but there's nothing you can say on that one considering he just gave up and quit on the team.
Yeah. Yeah, the Estrella one's the tough one for me too, because, I mean, that was somebody we're counting on pretty big this year. And, they had scholarships left, and, who's going to come in and play at that point if you know what was going on with Estrella. But, Yeah, the Cam Carwin. What can you say? I mean, the guy.
Yeah.
Nothing you can say on this basketball team. I mean, he had the opportunity of the world in front of him. He would have had a role on the team. He would have been a huge part of it next year. One of the I'm not going to mince words. It was one of the dumbest decisions I've seen.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not like he was benched because he wasn't playing. He was freaking hurt. And then somebody got in his ear and fed him full that he could get a better opportunity. He's not going to play this year. He would have been playing right now, probably. More than likely, he would have been back. He would have continued to carve out his spot in the rotation. And he's playing for the number one. It's
stupid.
It is. It's stupid. It's one of the dumbest decisions. It makes literally no sense to me at all.
He screwed us too.
Yeah, and I can't wish the guy whatever happens to. I don't wish him bad luck. I don't wish him good luck either.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about it. He always seemed like a really good kid, and I'm sure he is a good kid. Anytime you see him on TPL or anything, he just seemed like really full of personality and stuff. And I don't know. Sometimes you get outside factors that influence you too. Sometimes, we put too much on these kids to make decisions when it's the ones that's backing them who are driving those decisions. The ones that are supposed to know better, which are known as the adults that drive this. So I don't know what the reasoning is. Not like it would have made a difference tonight, but for depth purposes right now, I mean, Cade Phillips, what they say, dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah.
And then you got, what Dubar with his issues this year. You have Meshack has been a little bit beat up.
His finger got put sideways.
Yeah. So this team's they cannot afford much more.
No, they can't.
Cannot afford much more.
If somebody else goes down, I think it's unfortunately done, in my opinion. You can't lose another big man. I mean, if you lose another guard, all you have is gaining on the bench because Boswell hasn't showed anything to be of good enough standard, and you don't have anybody other than that unless you're relying on Dubar and Phillips to fill in some roles. So it is pretty concerning right now where Tennessee's in a position where if they lose another guy, your chances of a Final Four runner essentially out the window, in my opinion, because you can't do it. You don't have the depth to do it. You can't make a run with 8 guys in Tennessee's position, in my opinion. I just don't see them doing that.
Nah, I think, you mentioned Boswell. I think at this point in time, and I think he'll be good down the line. I mean, I hate to use the term, but I think he's basically a warm body right now.
He is.
I think that's what he is. He's not going to contribute offensively. His roles come in and kind of do the dirty work.
Yep. It's just disappointing because you could have added somebody over this break, this winter semester, or whatever you want to call it. You could have added a foreign guy just to give you another body, and now you're in a position where you can't afford another injury. So
I don't think there was anybody out there, though, is the thing of it, because based on what I read I
would have got somebody. It's not a dude from Siberia. He doesn't even have to be good. if he's just better than a walk-on, I'll take him at this point because it just scares me. It honestly does. Ever since Estrella went down and Carr left, it's just a lingering thought in the back of my mind of you cannot have 8 scholarship players out there. You just
so you'd have went and signed 6'8", 235-pound.
Yeah,
that would have been cock off from Russia.
yeah, dude. A dude that's going to get 5 fouls in 15 minutes and good enough.
Or you'd have signed Vladimir Rachikakov from West Siberia or something.
Anybody. Because I don't think the walk-ons, I don't think any of those guys are decent. And you don't have any walk-on with any size. That's all. The only size guys you have on the bench are Dubar and Phillips. That's it. There's not a single walk-on that's even, I think, above 6'5". So you're screwed.
Yeah, there was some talk about Tyon Evans. Is that his name? Or Tyjon Evans? I can't remember.
I
One of
mean,
the
I would have
side,
been fine with even a reclassified guy like that. I just wanted them to add somebody. I didn't care how they added a guy. I think they needed to add somebody, and they didn't, which is concerning to me. But it's going to be concerning to me because you're in a position now where you don't have depth.
I think I said the wrong. I know it's Evans. I think I said the
It might
wrong.
be Tyran or something.
Let's see. Well, let's see. Uh, Amari Evans. I was nowhere even in the ballpark on that one. There was talk about him possibly reclassifying. Um, but I mean, you had you. That's why I said last year when I was doing this before you come on, is like I hope some of these young guys will stick it out. And your Freddie Dillon, DJ Jefferson. I think the writing was on the wall. Owaka, I mean, it's been said that they don't know that he would have left if he'd known Adu was leaving. Um, the Cade Tyson thing, if they truly could have had Cade Tyson, I've seen that, well, it come down to do they choose Cade Tyson or Igor Milicic? That looks pretty good. I've heard, I think it's a bunch of bullshit on Cade Tyson, frankly. I think they lost out on him
Yeah.
because I've seen it where, well, they've chose between Cade Tyson and Igor Milicic. And then I've seen it where, well, if they would have taken Cade Tyson, they would have lost Cam Carr. Well, if that's I don't think you're at a point in time where if a guy wants in the fold that you feel can contribute based on NIL portal in this day and age, Cam Carr being the example, I don't think you can turn a valuable body down at this point in time, not in this day and age. So to me, I think it boiled down to Cade Tyson was from North Carolina and he wanted to ultimately play at North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I just think sometimes I call spade a spade on it, that there's too many tells about why Tennessee didn't get him. And I think it just boiled down to he wanted to go to North Carolina. And he's not doing anything at North Carolina. It's not like we turned down Cooper Flagg or something. But at the same time, who's to say a Cade Tyson in this system would not have been, a big pickup. And
He's averaging 3.7 points a game this season.
that's what I'm saying. He's doing nothing over there, but who's to say he couldn't have been a big part of this Tennessee team? And that North Carolina team's not very good.
No.
Either. I can't imagine Hubert Davis is going to last a whole lot longer. I mean, he would probably be on the chopping block if not for that run to the national championship a couple years ago.
Yep. And they brought back RJ
They
Davis.
barely made the tournament that year, and then they went on that run.
Yeah.
Stuff. But it's I don't know. I'm sure Barnes and staff did. They probably explored every avenue to try to fill out that roster. And just this day and age, if you see what's in front of them, hopefully we'll get more out of Dubar moving forward.
Yep.
I mean, he was the number 5 efficient basketball player in all college basketball last year. And Chaz was number 1. Now, that's not to be confused with they were the number 1 and number 5 scorers. No, they were number 1 and number 5 efficient. Their total offensive games were. A lot of possibilities still with this team. A lot of possibilities. Biggest thing is we cannot afford the injuries.
No.
I mean, if you had a Chaz or a Milicic go down, you're done. You're done. I just think that's guys you can't afford to lose at this point. Hopefully they don't get any more. But, I don't really blame Barnes for it because I would imagine they tried to do everything they could to get depth in. Maybe not, but I don't know that you would have gotten quality depth either. They've had so many. I think the biggest thing is their high school evaluations have been off.
Yeah.
I mean, look
really
at the number of guys over the last, 3 years who've transferred out that they signed from the high school ranks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at the team right now. I mean, Ziegler was kind of gifted late. Chaz is a transfer. Meshack, they hit on him out of high school. Milicic transfer. Akpara transfer. Jordan Game transfer. I hit him. Cade Phillips is developing, looks pretty good. Or Dubar transfer. Boswell, I mean, he's high school, but he's not ready right now. I think he's fine, but he's a ways down the line. Estrella High School out. Cam Carver's high school gone. They've just not hit on it, and they have 2 high school guys right now, so it's going to be portal heavy again. It's going to be very portal heavy, unless there's some possibilities of them finishing with. There was a guy from St. Louis, Yuri Collins, a couple years ago, who ended up staying with his brother. Just visited this past weekend. Seems like they're in good shape to get him a point guard. Chance Mallory, who was a Virginia commit, I've seen some chatter that they're in good shape with him. Can they get one of those big 5-star freshmen?
Hopefully.
Ament is one they're in, and then Caleb Wilson they're in on. But they're still going to have to hit the portal pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I would venture to say that Barnes, you won't see the team with only like 10 scholarship guys next year, or 11. They'll probably have their full allotment of them next year. I don't think I have any doubt on that one. And there could be some guys, especially when you get into that Peach Jam down in North Augusta, those guys show up all the time down there. But I don't know what else to say about it. Tonight. You just tip your cap and go on sometimes.
Yep, just move on.
What are you looking for when they go to Texas Saturday?
A totally different team. Just you got to be physical. You got to rebound, make shots, which seems like a pretty hard thing to do right now. Everything you could do everything better. So free throws to rebounds to 3-point shooting to coaching even. It could be better this Saturday against Texas in a game that feels like, since Auburn's up 12 right now at half, Auburn holds on to that one. Tennessee then has to win the game on Saturday. There's no excuse not to. If you want to be the best team in the league, you got to match what other teams do, and you have an opportunity to do that this Saturday, so you got to get it done.
Yeah, I agree with Ed on this one. I think it's hard to have depth in the NIL age. I just think it does, because guys transfer and they want to play. And I think you still got to have a base of your high school classes. We look at football on it. People freaking out over wide receivers and portal. I'm starting to think that Tennessee's chosen to pay their young guys and committing to playing them, opposed to just going out and buying somebody out of the portal.
Mm-hmm.
Guys are in the portal normally for a reason. So, I don't know. I don't hate what they're doing in the portal. I don't hate what basketball did. I would like to see them fill out their roster, but at the same time, coaches are experiencing challenges like they never have. And I give Rick Barnes credit. I think a lot of, I was one of them. I wondered when this stuff hit if this was not going to lead to Barnes hitting the road. Nope. Barnes has embraced it, and I think he's done great.
Yeah,
with the portal. I just think, when you get down to it and you got 1 or 2 spots left and you have your top of the rotation, your top guys lined out, who's going to come at that point? And you're not going to overpay somebody just to come in and sit on the bench.
No.
Or anything either. It's a tough act to juggle. And, I've been mistaken. I question that, especially after that FAU game. Was like, at that point in time, I thought Barnes was at a crossroads. Like, is the game passing him by? Because our offensive philosophy for a couple of years had been really hit and miss.
It had, yeah.
And, what's Barnes going to do? I've gotten called a moron and an idiot because I question, is he done or is he going to evolve? People don't always listen to the whole question. Is he done or is he going to evolve? And that was going to be where Barnes goes. Well, it's pretty obvious what Barnes chose. He chose to evolve. He went out and got Dalton Connect last year. He made it to only the second Elite Eight in school history. And then you bring in Chaz Lanier this year, who's been as big of an impact guy. I mean, they both had their different impacts, but Chaz Lanier's been huge for the program. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, and look at Milicic. Milicic still does not get credit because his shooting is not always on, but man, he's done so many things. It's coming. Jordan Gainey, you know, after a year and what he's doing. Still a good basketball team. They were very deserving of their number one ranking. They didn't show it tonight. But, you know, when I did my preseason video, said, is this Barnes' year? It wasn't clickbait. It's because of what I'd researched on his team. This is a hell of a team. And I don't know how deep they go. Who knows when you get in the NCAA tournament? We've seen it numerous times. Did a number one get beat last year, or definitely some twos did, didn't they?
I think, I mean, it was a number one versus number one matchup in Purdue and UConn in the championship game.
No, I mean, I'm talking like in the first round. I should have clarified.
Oh, in the first round? Oh. Not in the first round, no. Those
some
are
twos
memorable.
got beat, though.
Yeah, there typically is, I'd say every other year, a two will lose.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost anymore about every year that one of your 1, 2, or definitely 3 seeds, somebody always gets popped at some point. I mean, the fact that up to this point, Tennessee has not been under Barnes, I remember Oregon State beat them, but that was like, 6-11 or something. So that's not an upset.
COVID too, so.
What's that?
That was during COVID too. So what do you take from that? So I don't think he's necessarily been upset.
And that was a Tennessee team that was not playing good going in, and that was an Oregon State team that had gotten red hot.
Yeah.
They won like the Pac-12 tournament and got in and just got hot. I think they won a couple games. So really, Barnes in the tournament is not. I wouldn't. I think the year with Grant and Schofield, where Lamonte Turner is yet to foul the dude from Purdue, what's his name? Carson Edwards, that's it, has yet to foul him. I thought they had a real shot to go deep, but I mean, they really only went about 6 deep. That team did.
Yeah.
I mean, Fulkerson and Pons were not big parts of that team. They could give you a couple minutes, but I mean, it was what, Bone, Turner was the 6th man.
Yeah, Bowden was the shooting guard.
Bone, Bowden, Schofield, Grant, Kyle Alexander, Turner, and then Fulkerson or Pons may give you a couple minutes. And there was, I can't remember who else was in there at that point, but I mean, the fact that we can go a pretty solid 8. Most teams don't go 10 or, they just don't go that deep normally. And I'd say if you looked around college basketball, there's not many teams going much deeper than what Tennessee is now. But, we'll see. I think I'd asked you who I need to see more. I would like to see Igor a little more offensively. His rebounding, for the most part, is great. There's more to his offensive game, and I need to see it. I mean, tonight he had 8 points. He did 8.7 rebounds. I'd like to see a little bit more. Ziegler reminds me of Vescovy and Josiah Jordan-James in terms of his offensive game. You're going to have nights it's good, and there's nights it's not going to be good. Ziegler's contribution is not so much him being a Steph Curry sharp shooter.
Yeah.
It's his overall able to run the show on it. So I've kind of come to terms with Ziegler's game, but that's who he is as a shooter. Chaz, 3 out of 16, 1 out of 9. Yeah, that's not normal for him. Meshack 0 for the night. I need to see a little more there. I'm like you. I think Parra was your top guy tonight. Dubar, that's the one I want to see a bit more out of. Gainey had a rough night, 7.1 out of 11 shooting tonight. Normally he's pretty good. Dubar to me is an X factor moving forward. If he can get things going right for him, I think that he is an X factor. And I'm pretty sure I made that exact comment like numerous times that sometimes you get your asses kicked. I think I've said that at least 4 or 5 times now tonight. So, no, I'm trying to make it look, I'm not overreacting, but yeah, we got drilled tonight. We absolutely got drilled tonight. So, we can sit here and replay it all night long. Any final thoughts tonight?
Nope. Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
B2A?
Yep. That's about all it was.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's where I'm going with it as well. Texas Saturday. Let's see, what time is it? I don't remember the time on that one.
Pretty sure it's 6 o'clock on ESPN.
I'm thinking you're right on that one. Let me double check it here just to be sure. The road ahead Texas Saturday is definitely 6 o'clock ESPN. Next Wednesday, Georgia, which looks, it is in Thompson Bowling. So Georgia took care of Kentucky tonight, and then Vanderbilt. So I said this 3-game stretch coming up really on paper looks pretty good. Georgia looks a little tougher now, but it is at Thompson Bowling. I just really, with this team, always expect them to win at home.
Yeah.
And, they may drop a game or two at home this year. And I don't think that's unreasonable, but expect them to take care of business there. I'm expecting out of the next 3 for them to win those, go 4-1 to start out with, because you got Texas, Georgia at home, and then at Vanderbilt. And I just expect them to win those games right there. But, we'll see where they go on that as well. As far as, Lady Vols, 6:30 Thursday night. So that one I've said it's up in the air as far as a post game, because I got some stuff going on. So I hate to miss that one. That's a huge game, but priorities are priorities sometimes as well. So we're gonna wrap up on that one. He's Kerry, Frank, House of Orange. Better days are ahead. Sometimes you just take it and you move on. But regardless, win or loss, it's always a great day to wear the orange.